Hello there, happy August. Or is it? Because I am currently melting into my chair. It is so hot, I wouldn't be surprised if like at the end of this video I look under my pits and there's like a little mini forest growing under there. That was too gross, that was too far. Too much and too personal, especially if this is your first time here. My bad, let me introduce myself. I am Kylie Roseanne, but here I'm known as Haunted Hippie. Many also know me as the Antichrist or Satan's favorite daughter. I would shake your hand, but I just got lip gloss all over it. 1 second. For those who do know me, my returners, yes, we finally got our new bed, but we don't have our new sheets and new comforter and new setup, so don't judge. Today I'm going to be talking about everything that I watched in the month of July, and if you're new here, I'm a big horror girly, so I break things up in a special way. First, I talk about all the TV shows that I watched in a month, then we talk about all the non-horror movies, then we talk about my horror rewatches, my new watches of old horror, and finally we talk about new horror releases. I finally watched like Nightbreed, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Invisible Man. Those are some of the old horror movies I watched, and then there are a ton of new releases. Like I got almost completely caught up on all of the new Shudder releases that I wanted to for 2025. Much to discuss, let's just jump right in. The only TV show to report on is Hannibal. I'm finally rewatching Hannibal. I am showing it to my partner Scott, and we have almost finished the first season. I love this show more than life itself. I cannot recommend it enough. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere right now, but we've been watching it on my physical media. Next up, all the non-horror movies. So first of all, The Shawshank Redemption. I give it a whole dedicated review over on the Patreon. If you're new here, I have a series over there called I Finally Watched, and I finally watch super big classics and I do a little mini deep dive on them. I will react to, you know, the Academy Awards of that year, if it was nominated, or if it wasn't, I kind of talk about all of the other culture surrounding the movie at the time. For example, I also did that with The Notebook. I finally watched The Notebook. Don't know how I had never seen that in my life. So those are 2 bonus videos over on the Patreon this past month. On my birthday, don't know why, I was in a super big mood to rewatch Inception, and Inception is so awesome. I didn't realize how much had gone over my head when I watched it as a teenager. I still thought it was awesome back then, but I really had no idea what was going on. And then upon this viewing, I was like, oh my god, this is almost a perfect film. I am finally actually understanding the logic of this movie. Can't get into it right now though, obviously, otherwise we'd be here all damn day. But yeah, whatever. Hot take, Inception is good. Next up, we have to talk about Trainwreck Poop Cruise. Netflix is really churning out these train wreck documentaries at the moment. I saw that they did another one on Balloon Boy that I fear I might need to watch, but I haven't yet. Anyway, the Poop Cruise. This documents the unfortunate events where an entire cruise was stranded at sea because they lost power and their bathroom systems failed, essentially. So for days on end, everybody's just waiting around in gray water. Horrific. And then at one point, the crew has the genius idea to do an open bar. Getting everybody drunk during that situation, nobody talked about it, but I know that it happened. I mean, people did talk about like peeing off of the edge of the boat, but when you get drunk, what about the drits? What about the people that are inevitably going to be throwing up because you're mixing open bar with the sea? I mean, some people who might not even be that sensitive to motion sickness, you don't know what could happen. Horrendous idea. I've never seen anything so stupid in all my life. Not a great documentary, but pretty funny and like shortened to the point. It was under an hour. I appreciated that. Okay, Superman. I'm not going to talk about it too much today because I also have a podcast with my dad and those episodes released to the Patreon as well. And every once in a while, I will put one out on the main channel just as a little treat and to let everyone know what they're missing over there. So we're going to be breaking down Superman. We will also be talking about Fantastic Four, but for right now, I'll just let you know that for both of those movies, I gave them each a 3.5 star rating. I was not swept up by either of them, and I really wanted to be. Like, I was pretty excited for James Gunn's Superman. I have been a James Gunn truther since I could toddle. Okay, his Scooby-Doo movies are everything to me, and the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are among some of my absolute favorites of the MCU. But at this point, James Gunn's style feels like something that has just been commodified, which sucks because he does have such a unique superhero style, but now it's to the point that it feels a little corporate. I think if I went back and I watched Guardians of the Galaxy, I would still love it and I would still think that it was really funny. The third one came out last year, right? And I loved it. Those movies still feel kind of edgy and subversive, but then when you take James Gunn's comedy and you you apply it to something like Superman, which is not so edgy and it's more broad, then it just feels kind of corny to me. Like, I just didn't find it very funny. I didn't understand why there was a huge plot reveal on an iPhone as well. Just some odd choices made. I wasn't really feeling Lois Lane. I'll break that down way more with my dad though this month. I finally watched 127 Hours. I have been trying to get through a little bit more of Danny Boyle's filmography. So next up will be Sunshine, and then I know I need to watch Trainspotting. I do. 127 Hours is about that guy who got his hand stuck between a rock and a hard place. I'm sorry. It was between two rocks. This was a real thing that happened. I apologize. And it's about how he survived that. Spoilers, sorry, but it is based on true events, and we wouldn't have known about these events likely if he had died. So people really hyped that one up, and I don't know. There was that girl on Letterboxd who watched it every single day for like 3 years or something. I don't know why you would ever do that to yourself. I don't know. Danny Boyle clearly has a real keen interest in technology, particularly early 2000s video cameras, iPhones, news footage, archival footage. I definitely was seeing a couple parallels between that and 28 years later. And I don't think that style is so much for me. I kind of was picking up what he was putting down. I think that the purpose in 127 Hours was to kind of show off the spectacle that we make out of sports and the lengths that humans will push themselves and how many people participate in it and how normalized it is in society. But then these insane, dangerous things can happen as a result of that. That was like what I extrapolated. Like, let me know your thoughts, obviously. I just thought it was okay. I don't know. And I don't really like James Franco. Next up is Eddington. We actually talked about this in the last episode of Boomers. That would be episode 18. And we got into why I urged my father to not go see it in theaters. I really didn't like it at all. Like, not even a little bit. Like, not even for Jose Pedro Balmasara Pascal, okay? I'm done talking about it. And same with F1. We also covered that at length over on Patreon, so I'm not gonna get into it again. I liked that the cars went fast. I rewatched Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I don't know why, but one night, Scott and I were just looking over the collection and trying to decide what to watch, and we just go based off of what we're in the mood for. And with that one, part of the rationale is that I am not caught up on that franchise. I missed the last one in theaters, and I missed War for the Planet of the Apes in theaters. I've still never seen that. So I was like, oh, we should start it, and then, we'll watch it over the course of the next year or whatever, and we'll be ready by the time the next one comes to theaters. That's actually a movie where I like James Franco. Andy Serkis, yeah, he deserves all the flowers that he gets. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It is just amazing to me still what that technology can do and just how much of his performance shines through and how much is captured, because obviously that movie would not be what it is without him. And now I'm really excited to go back and catch up on, I've already seen Dawn, it was a long time ago, but to finally watch War and then Kingdom, so it was a good time. Yay! Oh no, and another thing. Tom Felton should have booked more jobs after that. People clowned on him a little bit on Letterboxd. Whenever I'm talking about what people have said, by the way, I'm almost always talking about Letterboxd, so maybe I should stop specifying. That's where I get all my information. Everybody's, dogging on his accent and stuff. I thought he was fine. I thought that he was perfectly suited for that role. Honestly, even if he was typecast in those kinds of bully roles and stuff till the end of time, he does it well. I don't get it. I don't understand. He gets into it in his memoir. I just think that if he had gotten more employment at that time, we might not have ended up where we are today. Anywho, I finally watched the Hitchcock biopic, the one with Anthony Hopkins. Love Anthony Hopkins, as we all do, right? Yes. So even though I knew that this movie didn't have the best reputation, I wanted to finally watch it before it left Netflix. It follows Hitchcock through the conception of and the production of Psycho. There's not much more to say than that. That is entirely what it is about, and it's, I guess, a little tiny bit about his relationship with his wife. The first thing I noticed from the very first frame of the movie when Anthony Hopkins is giving a little monologue directly to the camera is, wow, that fat suit looks terrible. It is not well laid on his face. I mean, at least it's not like peeling. Like, I don't know that you can necessarily see the edges of it, but you kind of can, because you can see it puckering a little bit. You can see where it's like not the same as his skin tone. You can't always blame the makeup artist, because maybe it looked perfect in person, but then whatever coloring they did in post might have kind of exposed that it was not a perfect shade match. That's tough. I think that that's something that should have gone through another couple passes before they were like, okay, this is the final look. Also, he barely even looks like Hitchcock. Rocking that fat suit must have been so miserable, only to sort of look like Hitchcock. That kind of of sucks. And the movie is just boring. It's just like not really compelling whatsoever. It has no bite. It has hardly a critical lens at all of Hitchcock. It very much romanticizes the relationship that he had with his wife, because I don't believe for 1 second, not even for a millisecond, that he ever once told her that there isn't a single Hitchcock blonde that has ever been as pretty as you. I've been waiting 30 years for you to say that, and that's why they call me the master of suspense. Embarrassing is the word that comes to mind for me. I don't recommend it. I hope that somebody makes a better one someday. I am really glad next up that I caught How to Train Your Dragon in theaters. To be really fair, I haven't seen the original in a very long time, like since I was a teenager at least. I loved that movie as a kid. It definitely made me cry. And then I remember going to see the second one in theaters with a group of friends and having a blast with that one as well. Didn't really remember the movie too much. I remembered the main beats, but for me it was sort of like going in pretty fresh to a new movie. I have seen my mutuals say that it is basically a shot-for-shot remake, and I'm sure that it is. And if I'd gone back and rewatched the original before I watched the new one, I'd probably be like, oh, this is kind of bullshit. But as it was, I loved it. I loved it. Oh my gosh, I thought that the casting was so phenomenal. The only characters that kind of annoyed me and why I didn't give the movie a perfect rating is all the dummies that are part of like the dragon fight club, for lack of a better term. I didn't find them funny, but I know that that humor was more for the benefit of the kids in the audience, so it's fine. I'll give it a pass. I knew that I wanted to see it in theaters because I just didn't think that I would care enough to wait and see it at home, and then that would kind of strip some of the magic of the dragon rides and things. And it was in many ways a spectacle movie. I'm so happy that I saw it in theaters. And it made me cry a lot. It made me sit there and like fully tears rolling down the cheeks, not just getting choked up. And I think that I was crying when the credits rolled, so that was a little bit tough because the lights came up and, you know, people are starting to get up and I'm like, trying to wipe away the evidence. It's a really good time. It's cute and it's fun. I finally watched Happy Gilmore, and I'm sorry, I didn't get around to watching the new one yet, but hopefully I'll include that in my August recap. Historically, the only time that I have enjoyed Adam Sandler is 50 First Dates. His brand of 90s comedy I just don't think is for me, and I'm not entertained by golf, but putting those things together is what made this movie ultimately pretty fun. Like, it was okay. Because honestly, I'm thinking, oh, I wish that there were more people that acted a mess while playing golf. That would make it so much more fun. Why aren't there golf tournaments that are treated like WWE or something? I think that it would get a lot more people into the sport. I've heard very mixed things about the new movie. I know that Cody Leach absolutely hated it, but then a lot of people in my audience said that they loved it. And both Cody Leach and members of my audience are huge fans of the original, so who the hell knows what I'm gonna say. Oh, I know, Netflix, count your fucking days. What do you mean? You're gonna make a new Happy Gilmore and then you're not even gonna keep the original on your platform? Are you joking? No. I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Are you actually joking? This isn't a rant about Netflix today. Let's move on. The last non-horror movie of the month would be Oh Hi. This one has not gotten a lot of marketing. I don't know if everybody knows about this yet, but you should. Oh Hi follows these two people as they go for a weekend getaway. Our lead character Iris is excited about where this relationship is going, but things go awry. Oh my god, this movie is so hot. This movie is so hot. Oh my god, I love this movie so much. I loved it so much. This just was the perfect recipe of everything that I love in a good little indie film. First of all, Molly Gordon and Geraldine Viswanathan. Love you. Logan Lerman, I think it goes without saying, I have been in love with him my entire life. I know what you're gonna ask, and yes, Percy Jackson was definitely somewhat of like a bisexual awakening for me. I don't think that it's the funniest movie that I've ever seen, but I think it is one of the most relatable movies that I've ever seen. It coined a new term that I really hope catches on because I have experienced it one too many times. I know friends that are experiencing it right now. That movie was made for the real lover girls out there. Okay, I really hope that you go out and see it. Oh, and this was the first time that I ever learned that Geraldine Viswanathan is Australian. Huh? What do you mean? What do you mean? Her accent is very soft. So actually for the first scene of hers in this movie, I thought that she was still just like putting on an American accent. And then I started to hear the little twangs and stuff. And I looked it up and sure enough, she is from Australia. I was similarly shocked when I found out that Margot Robbie was Australian. Had no idea. Has she ever had her Australian accent in a movie? I feel like this was the first time I've ever seen Geraldine Viswanathan have her natural accent. Unimportant tangent. Let's move on now to my horror rewatches of the month. So Jurassic World Dominion and I Know What You Did Last Summer, those of course I rewatched to discuss the new movies. I did dedicated reviews of both of those new franchise installments, so if you want my thoughts on Dominion and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, then go watch those reviews. I also rewatched Shaun of the Dead, and I love that movie. I don't think there's anything more that I need to say, but well, I haven't talked about it actually in 4 years. That was the last time that I watched it. What I will say is that it is the 200th movie that Scott and I have watched together. My partner that I just recently moved in with, and we're still putting our bedroom together, that guy. That was our 200th movie together. So now that we have accomplished that, I do believe that for the Patreon, or should I do it for the second channel? No, I think I'll probably do it for the Patreon. I think that we're gonna get his top 10 movies out of all 200. And I'm definitely gonna ask him to do a couple of like honorable mentions at least, maybe like even 10 honorable mentions. It's 200 movies. I don't think that Shaun of the Dead will make the top 10, but who knows? I love that movie down. That's all you need to know. Actually, you also need to know that my favorite thing about it is not necessarily the comedy, but the very real and gripping relationship arcs that Sean goes through with his girlfriend, with his mom, with his best friend. That movie is so real. Okay, anyway, you know that. So next up we have all my new watches of old horror. First up, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I watched that one along with Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. Maybe you've heard of these, maybe not. I think Frankenstein, that one came out in 1948 or 9, right? And then the Invisible Man one, I think that came out in 1951. They follow Bud Abbott and Lou Costello as they have various hijinks and run-ins with the Universal Classic monsters. At the end of Meet Frankenstein, there is a cameo from Vincent Price playing the Invisible Man. I'm so sorry if I just spoiled that for like everyone, but it's relevant. I'm sorry. So that got me really, really excited to watch the next one where they meet the Invisible Man, and Vincent Price doesn't play him. But the guy who does, what's his face? Arthur Franz, I think, is the guy who's playing the Invisible Man. He is really funny. I think he's fantastic, and honestly, I think that he kind of shows up Abbott and Costello. Ooh. Is that a hot take? I don't know. These are just really comforting, quick, easy little watches. They're very enjoyable. I definitely recommend them. I'm hoping to get through all of their pairings with the classic monsters before the year is up. I only have 6 of them. I don't know if there are more than that. I'm gonna have to look into it. I think the only one that I might not have is them meeting the mummy. Oh, I skipped one. Oh, Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, Boris Karloff. That one comes between the first one and the Invisible Man one. My bad. Maybe that's the one that I don't have. But they also meet the mummy. They meet the creature from the Black Lagoon. So I'm excited to check those out. Maybe I'll do kind of a brief little mini ranking once I finish all of those in a recap. Probably not its own video. Next up though would be Nightbreed. The only Clive Barker directed film that I had seen before this was Hellraiser, and I am obsessed with Hellraiser. I also finally read the book this year and I really enjoyed the book. Nightbreed, I had no idea what the hell I was getting into. A troubled young man is drawn to a mythical place called Midian, where a variety of friendly monsters are hiding from humanity. Meanwhile, a sadistic serial killer is looking for a patsy. Is patsy okay to say? It's on the like Letterboxd synopsis, but why do I feel like that's a slur? Oh, a slang term for a person who is easily manipulated or taken advantage of, like a sucker or a scapegoat. Okay, so it is derogatory. I was just hoping that wasn't like the 90s term for twink or something. This movie, as you might imagine if you know anything about Clive Barker, is real weird. It's real weird. I watched the director's cut, which apparently is the superior cut. I have no idea, but that's what was sent to me on physical media, which shout out to those subscribers who have sent me that mail, by the way. I've already said all that I think that I can say for this film, because on Letterboxd, I said I don't even know how to process what I just witnessed. I don't. I didn't really enjoy my time. I felt like the scope of things was just too grand. Hellraiser, as crazy as this might sound, I feel like is a little bit grounded. I understand the rules of the universe. Things make sense. It's not outlandish and there's not too much going on. Like you have a grasp of what's going on. In Nightbreed, I don't. It gave me similar frustrations actually as Lord of the Rings. In Lord of the Rings, there are too many different names of things. There are too many characters. There is too much lore. I cannot possibly be expected to keep up with all of that because frankly, I don't care. I have the same problem with Dune. To me, it's just like boring war fantasy. Nightbreed obviously is like a lot more interesting than that. Ooh, not me saying obviously. I know I'm about to get reamed by some people for that Dune comment and Lord of the Rings. So while I'm inviting that heat, I will just also say that like Nightbreed was a little bit too much for me. Now that I kind of know what it is, I mean, look, of course I appreciate the idea. I love the idea of something that fantastical and over the top and envisioning one of Clive Barker's worlds. Like, of course that is something that I want to see. It's gonna take me a couple of viewings because I could not possibly be expected to understand everything that was going going on in the first viewing. It's strange. I feel like this should be a safe space also for me to admit that I just don't know if that movie is gonna be for me, period. Next up though, we have The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I don't know how I never saw this movie. I don't know how it was not more prevalent in my consciousness. I don't know how more people aren't talking about it more frequently online. I don't understand why it is not in more conversations. When Emily Rose dies, everyone puts blame on the exorcism which was performed on her by Father Moore prior to her death. The priest is arrested on suspicion of murder. The trial begins with lawyer Aaron Bruner representing Moore, but it is not going to be easy as no one wants to believe what Father Moore says is true. I kind of can't believe this movie only has a 3.1 on Letterboxd, though I do understand some people's reservations that this is based on a true story and it doesn't really do it justice. Because in real life, I'm pretty sure that it was just like cut and dry negligence, and the way that it's framed in the movie is questionable at best. However, the way that it's framed in the movie makes it for a really good and really compelling story. I love a courtroom drama. I love a courtroom drama. I do not love an exorcism movie, but Jennifer Carpenter, Miss Tina the Talking Tummy herself, is so fantastic in the film. That poor girl never got to have an easy day on set. Oh my god. So physical. Her physical acting is just fantastic. Her emotions, the contortions both of body and face. We probably wouldn't even be able to get that kind of a performance today given like the Botox epidemic. I really, really liked it. I do think that the first act suffers from a few kind of cheesy exorcism cliche haunting-isms. And at that point, I think I was like, this movie might not really be for me. But I found the story and the case to be really compelling, and that totally carried it, and then her performance did as well. So yeah, I ended up loving it. It ended up being a 4-star movie for me. Next up, I also finally watched The Invisible Man, the original from 1933. I was immediately going to go and watch Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, but then I was like, wait, no, you cannot do that before you watch the original actual Invisible Man. So I went ahead and I did that, and I had a lot of fun. I was kind of surprised that for the time of this film's release, just how silly it was, and just how much of the movie was based on the technology, the new technology they had. And it's amazing. I think it's so cool, like when you go back and you watch an old movie, or hell, even now, you're watching a movie and you just wonder, how the hell did they do that? Because honestly, I haven't done my history research on that one. I don't know how they accomplished that effect, but it's really cool. I think the movie is hilarious because he is just running around being an absolute menace for the majority of the runtime. It's so funny. I wish that more of the OG monster movies were like that, because now I think that it's one of my favorites. I think that my favorite will always be Creature from the Black Lagoon, but now that I've actually seen all the original, what is it? There's like 8 of them or something. No, have I seen The Mummy? Okay, maybe I still haven't seen the original The Mummy, but we're getting close. And then I think that I would love to do a ranking of the Universal Classic monster movies. Just the OG ones though, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay, the Frankenstein, the Dracula, the Wolfman. I highly recommend the original Invisible Man though. It's a lot of fun. And I think that you can watch it for free on Tubi or maybe on Prime. Next up though, we have Scanners, David Cronenberg's Scanners. I have some of his stuff on physical media that I really desperately need to catch up on. That was one of them. After a man with extraordinary and frighteningly destructive telepathic abilities is nabbed by agents from a mysterious rogue corporation, he discovers he is far from the only possessor of such strange powers. This movie is kind of giving The Shining. It's giving if Stephen King wanted to write a very dark and very dramatic tale about The Shining. Conceptually, that's just what it's giving anyway. I talked about this movie very, very recently though in my Were These Horror Movies Bad or Was I 12 video. With that one, I did conclude that it is a little bit of both because I still think that movie is just a little bit too slowly paced for me. I really want to like it. I really want to pick up whatever the hell David Cronenberg is putting down, but a lot of the times I just cannot do that. Crimes of the Future was one of the most accessible movies of his that I had ever seen. Scanners is not really an exception when it comes to scratching my head. Videodrome is one that I majorly need to give a redemption rewatch because that was kind of what Scanners was. I had tried it before, but I didn't finish it. I fear that The Brood would be the same thing. I just fear that a lot of his movies would be the same thing. The only other accessible one is The Fly, pretty much. I love his whole thing, but I just think that surface level, I don't know if he's really the director for me. Despite my desire to engage with his work, I have a hard time saying that I really like any of it. Now on to the last new watch of an old horror. This one Maybe I shouldn't have put it in the horror section, but oh well. It's called Playground, and this is a Polish film. It's from the same director that gave us Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight. That's a slasher that's on Netflix that actually is decent. You know, if you're aware of the subgenre of slashers, there's not much in it that's new for you, to be honest. But it's fine. You know, it's worth the watch. And then he made a sequel that was so Cuckoo Bananas does not begin to describe that film. It's not good. Not good. I do wonder, like, if I went back and rewatched it, would I love it for how absurd it is? And I think the answer is a resounding no. Nonetheless, an interesting director, right? So he also had directed this movie Playground like a decade ago. And I saw somebody somewhere saying that this was one of the most disturbing movies they'd ever seen. And it was on Tubi. So I was like, right, I'm gonna watch that immediately. I'm gonna tell you the entire plot of this movie and the ending because it is very, very disturbing, and I know that most people would not want to watch the film if I told you. If you're somebody that likes really twisted miserablism, then go for it, okay? You know, skip ahead like 30 seconds or something. But I do not recommend this movie, especially to my audience, which is mostly comprised of people who have good vibes. This movie follows 3 different teenagers just as they're going through their day. It's very giving cinema verite. It feels very documentary, just going through their lives. It's quite boring, to be honest with you. And then in the final 25 minutes, this girl confesses her feelings to one of the teenage boys, and they start to record her, they start to bully her, they tell her to take her clothes off, to like show her tits and stuff. It's horrendous. And at that point, I had to pause the movie. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and look up what happens because I am not prepared to watch 14-year-olds rape another 14-year-old. I'm just not here for that. That was not what the ending was, but what the ending was almost worse. In fact, it was definitely worse. It was you know what? Don't make me compare these things and decide that's not what I'm here to talk about. In the end, these 2 boys then go on to just like hang out in the mall for a little bit, and then they find a toddler who they kidnap, and then they bring out to the railroad tracks and they proceed to kill him. It's horrible. And the ending of the movie, there is an unbroken shot when these boys like bring this toddler out and then to the point where they kill him. I don't know how long the shot is. It's maybe like 7 to 10 minutes, and it's completely unbroken. There are no cuts. It's just this very like voyeuristic angle from far away watching these boys doing what they're doing. And I can kind of understand what the movie is doing in that sense because at least it's not up close and personal. At least it's not exploitative in that sense where it's, you know, all up in the kid's face and it's gory or anything. It's nothing like that. Obviously, you don't see too much like intimately what's going on. And I can appreciate that. I think that the director is trying to say that there is no real answer for child psychopathy, and yet these people are around us just at the mall, like at any given time. We exist in the world with these people, and I think that's what the movie's trying to say, and I'm here for that. Like, I respect that. The movie doesn't really seem to come to any conclusions. However, the early on framing of the kids just in their daily life and stuff would seem to suggest that it could really be anybody out there. And if a little boy is willing to completely dehumanize a little girl, then there's no telling what else he might do. A girl who had just confessed her feelings for him, by the way. But I personally don't find any entertainment value in that. I did not enjoy myself watching the movie. Okay, I gave it a 2 out of 5. It's just not something that I would recommend. I think the most that you would get out of that viewing experience is what I just relayed to you about it. So I don't think you need to watch it. And on that miserable note, hey, yay, we can move on to new horror releases. The first 3 I have given dedicated reviews already. That would be Jurassic World Rebirth, Together, and I Know What I Did Last Summer. Together, I actually was invited to go to an early screening hosted by Neon, and that was cool. Allison Brie was there, so I included some of that footage in my review. Those are all the big heavy hitters of the month, so if you still want to have over an hour of content to watch after you finish this video, you can go and enjoy those. But for now, I have to talk about a lot of Shudder releases, starting with Push. I was excited to check this movie out because I remembered that it was announced that the same directors that gave us The Boy Behind the Door were giving us another film. And The Boy Behind the Door, I think, is kind of underrated. I mean, I don't fully remember the movie at this point. It came out several years ago, but I think that the top review of that one is that my asshole was clenched during the entire runtime, and I 100% agree. So I was looking forward to Push. All this movie is, though, is a really basic home invasion. I think that the main character was a realtor or something, but she's also pregnant. It's essentially a remake to Inside, which is baffling because an American remake to Inside already exists, doesn't it? I haven't seen it. Should I? I've heard it's bad. I also really want to check out the American remake of Martyrs. I don't know. I'm just a sadist. What can I say? It was really boring. It quite literally was nothing that we haven't seen before. The protagonist is boring. The antagonist is boring. The plot line has already been done. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I get that maybe even Shudder needs to have a generic movie every month or something to what? To keep the normies interested? I don't know. I don't get it. They can be so daring and so bold and make such weird movies, and sometimes it's a swing and a miss, but I would always rather watch something like that than a boring retread of something that's already been done. So Push was baffling to me. Next up, there is a movie called Little Bites. I was looking on my Letterboxd watch list like, what am I gonna watch? I need to watch a new release. I saw that this movie starred Barbara Crampton, Heather Langenkamp, Bonnie Aarons, and Chaz Bono. Also, it's produced by Cher, so that, that tracks. And I was like, damn, I definitely need to catch up on this one. Mindy, a young widow and mother who tries to protect her daughter Alice from a flesh-eating monster named Agyar. What a name. Mindy has been secretly sacrificing her own life by allowing the creature to feast on her body as she keeps Alice hidden away at her grandmother's house. I just said that this one could have been a fire short, and that's kind of all I have to say about it. Really good concept, really good acting by certain individuals, really good gore, excellent demon performance, if you want to call him that. I think it's like a little bit ambiguous, but most of the movie felt like fluff. I didn't get a real sense of the stakes, even though it involves child custody and I guess like depression. It felt sort of like another iteration of the Babadook, so we have made that movie once again. If we had been given a really compelling lead character, if the drama was better and more fresh and unique, then I think I would have really, really liked the movie, but everything else besides the movie's strong points, like the horror elements and the general setup, everything besides that just felt like fluff, so I didn't like the movie at all. A real shame. A real shame. Next up, we have The Dead Thing, another Shudder exclusive. This one stars John Carna, who I know you know from the MTV Scream series. Noah, our king. Oh, also he's in Lady Bird. A young woman lost in a series of meaningless connections falls in love with a charismatic and sensitive man who hides a dark secret that turns her affair into a dangerous obsession. This movie's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. I really, 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 really want to make a comparison to another movie, but if I do, it'll spoil it so bad. If you've seen it, then you know, and maybe make a guess in the comments, but like warn people at the top of your comment if you're gonna spoil it. I liked it. Like, it's not a great movie. The execution is not the most compelling. It's not technically the best. I think the acting of the movie is really fantastic. Overall, story-wise though, it's just a little bit clunky. If they had smoothed it out just a bit, I think that this could have been a hit. And I appreciated it for what it was. I found the concept to be super compelling. And while the execution at times was a little bit corny, to me it wasn't in a bad way. It was in a way that was like, honestly, a little bit endearing. I'm not gonna recommend that you watch it because it's fantastic. I'm gonna recommend that you watch it because I do think that it is something pretty fresh. It's something that I feel like I haven't really ever seen. It's weird. It's different. If you're looking for weird and different, then give it a whirl. And then going back to theatrical releases, up next we have The Home, which I was so excited for because I was like, another Pete Davidson horror movie? Sign me up. Even though all the girlies completely outshined him in Bodies, why was I excited to see? I don't know. It's just compelling to me when I feel like there is a celebrity that does not really belong in the genre. It's like, what are you doing there? That makes me want to see it more. So what is The Home? A troubled man starts working at a retirement home and realizes its residents and caretakers harbor sinister secrets. As he investigates the building and its forbidden fourth floor, he starts to uncover connections to his own past and upbringing as a foster child. You might have seen somebody saying that the last 10 minutes of this movie redeemed the first 80 in a way that we've never seen before. It's a lie. It is a lie. Yes, the last 10 minutes are awesome. Unfortunately, yes, that is true. The last 10 minutes, they're awesome. It even was getting to me a little bit where I was like, oh my god, wait, not me loving this moment right now. There's no way. There's no way. There's one scene in particular that is amazing and I would love to just like have it playing on a loop in my brain. But the first 80 minutes really are that terrible. It reminded me so much of Opus and all of the problems with Opus, which inspired my review of saying everyone wants to have their goddamn naked old people A24 moment and not everyone should get one. It's just, you know, we got Hereditary and then we got Midsommar. That was where I thought we should have just capped that. Because everything that has preceded it, where fish out of water goes to mystery location, there's a lot of weird old people, they have all been pale imitations at best since then. This movie is absolutely no exception. In fact, it is one of the worst that I have seen. The only reason why I gave it the same score as Opus is because the last 10 minutes like actually deliver, but it's not worth watching the whole movie. I don't know. I would wait until you can watch the last 10 minutes of the movie at home, because that's really all that's worth it. You have already seen the entirety of the rest of the movie before, okay? I mean, you do need some of the plot points from earlier on in the movie to kind of get what's going on. So I guess you can, okay, maybe you can watch the beginning of the movie and then honestly, you can just like scroll on your phone till the last 10 minutes, because everything else you have seen before, the way this movie telegraphs so heavily, like the weird stuff that's going on, that it's like, what even is the point? I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be good so bad. I wanted it to be funny. It sucked. Like, it's not good. And unfortunately, the last movie I have to speak about today is House on Eden. This was written and entirely produced by this group of TikTokers, as far as I'm aware. And I don't know if it was produced by Shudder, but it certainly is being distributed by Shudder, and they put it up in theaters, which I guess is smart because honestly, my showtime was pretty full, and I went on a Tuesday night. Actually, you know what? AMC does discount Tuesdays, so that is actually not a mystery at all. It's just that I go at all odd times of the week. I like to go, you know, mid-afternoon in the middle of the week when it's nice and quiet and stuff. Not relevant. I haven't even given you the synopsis yet. This is basically every other found footage movie you've ever seen about people that go to a haunted location out in the woods or something. But I can't tell you anything more than that, not because I don't want to, but because I got so motion sick during the first half of this movie that I had to leave the theater. I actually couldn't stay. I saw other reviews on Letterboxd saying that they also were feeling motion sick, and other people relating to me where they were saying that a movie has never made me feel this way before. And I'm the same. The only time a screen has ever made me motion sick was when I tried to play Outlast a couple of years ago. I never get motion sick, okay? I can read in the car. I love roller coasters. The only time that I've ever gotten car sick is if I get into the car on an empty stomach. I have a stomach of steel. This is not something that has ever happened to me before. I also only have one other memory of leaving the theater before a movie was over. So it just was such a rare, I cannot stress to you enough how rare of an occurrence this was, but I physically could not sit there anymore. I literally even had to sit outside in my car for like 10 minutes to recover before I could drive. And then the motion sickness woke back up as I was driving. So it took me like an hour when I got home to start feeling better again. So bad. I don't think that the movie is worth watching. I mean, this is a warning, by the way, because I've seen other people complaining about the motion sickness, and I love found footage. Like, I am not a hater of that subgenre at all. Look, I have the Blair Witch tattoo, so there is something majorly wrong with the camera work in this movie. Judging by all the other reviews I've seen, it does kind of give me a dogpiling type vibe, and like shitting on the fact that it is TikTokers who made a movie. I don't begrudge the movie that. And is it because I am a YouTuber who also makes short films? Maybe. That being said, donate to Famished, the GoFundMe. It's always linked down below. That's my upcoming horror short. But it genuinely wasn't even that. It's just the movie literally made me sick. I hate to leave you on that note. I feel like I'm always doing that. Why am I always saving the worst movie for last? But it's okay. I gave you some good recommendations today. I watched a lot of good stuff in the month of July, so I hope that you had a good time with this recap. If you want even more content from me, like I said, you gotta check out the solo reviews of the new Jurassic World, of I Know What You Did Last Summer, of Together. Oh, that's a new fave. I'm so stoked on that one. I'm actually stoked on all of them, but yeah, go hear my in-depth thoughts. I also have a second channel where I primarily talk about physical media, but I post travel content. I am pretty soon here, I'm going to be posting some adoption content. I'm an adoptee who is finally unpacking that on the internet. And I've already mentioned the Patreon a bazillion times, so check that out too. But more than anything, I just hope that you enjoyed this video and that I catch you in the next one. Bye.